So, tell me about yourself.
Are you okay?
Excuse me. Are you feeling... All right, I might be exaggerating on this one, but you know what I mean, right? I'm sure you had an interview where your stress level was just unbearable. Like your heart starts racing, your thoughts become cloudy, you can't even speak well. And that's why in this video, I'm gonna show you 5 strategies on how to become more confident in a job interview, but also how to reduce your stress level. And since first impressions are key, if you don't look confident in a job interview, you won't get the job. So my promise to you is, at the end of this video, you'll have enough strategies to walk into any job interview with your chin up and ready to amaze the interviewer. So pay close attention. So part of being confident is planning ahead. Have you noticed that confident people always seem to keep their cool in any sort of situation? And there's no magic involved. They use what TEDx speaker and neuroscientist Daniel Levitin call pre-mortem, which consists of thinking of what could go wrong in any situation and planning your actions accordingly in advance. For example, you have a job interview tomorrow. One thing that could go wrong is arriving late to this job interview, right? So one pre-mortem you may have is putting 5 alarms on your phone so that you're sure to wake up and arrive on time. Another example is if the interviewer asks you a question that you didn't prepare. And my pre-mortem for that kind of situation is just breathe, stay calm, and ask the interviewer for a few seconds just to think about a good answer to say. But the question is, why do you have to prepare that much? And that's really simple. Under stress, your brain releases a hormone called cortisol. The problem with cortisol is that it clouds your thinking. Your body is not able to rationalize information, so it's impossible to think well under stress. And that leads to poor answers during an interview, and that means you not getting the job. So having a pre-mortem for a lot of situations that could go wrong will give you the capability to stay calm under any situation. And that's why confident people seem like they can handle anything. The second strategy is a pre-mortem on itself, but I really wanted to emphasize on it, and that's why it's a separate strategy. So we all know the common questions that we may get during a job interview, right? Like, tell me about yourself, why should we hire you, how did you handle a difficult situation? You should always answer these questions using specific personal examples. You may want to check Glassdoor for specific companies. They have a lot of reviews and people telling how their interview went. Take a list of the 20 most common questions and prepare them. And I have a good strategy to prepare these kind of questions. And please don't write complete sentences and a complete script. Some people will ask you to write bullet points, but I don't like that either. My personal strategy is preparing solid examples that come with your answers. For example, if they ask you how did you handle difficult situations at school or in your previous job, you may want to talk about your recent group project where you had to do all the work. In general, you should associate every common question to a specific example from your personal life or your professional career, because it's way easier to remember, but also way more powerful when you answer that way than just speaking in general. Now let's talk about our third strategy, and that is show off your confidence using your body language. Social psychologist Amy Cuddy conducted an experiment where she discovered that your body language affects what people think about you, but your body language also affects what you think about yourself. So if you feel confident, people will perceive you as a confident person, and if people see you as a confident person, well, you'll feel more confident, and it's a never-ending cycle. The experiment they conducted is related to the posture you have. They took 2 groups of people. The first group was sitting in a closed position, and the second group was sitting in an open position, taking up all the space available. So after keeping the same posture for 2 minutes, they tested their stress level and confidence level. And they saw that the people with an open posture were the most confident and the less stressed. So why, you may ask? Well, if you adopt an open position like this one, and you take as much space as possible, well, your brain will feel like you have more power and that you can control everything. Another question that you may have is, how can you incorporate that in a job interview? And for that, let's watch a short extract of Amy's TED Talk to understand it better.
We publish these findings, and the media are all over it, and they say, okay, so this is what you do when you go in for the job interview, right? You know, so we were, of course, horrified and said, oh my God, no, that's not what we meant at all for numerous reasons. No, don't do that. Again, this is not about you talking to other people, it's you talking to yourself. What do you do before you go into a job interview? You do this, right? You're sitting down, you're looking at your iPhone or your Android, not trying to leave anyone out. You're looking at your notes, you're hunching up, making yourself small, when really what you should be doing maybe is this, like in the bathroom, right? Do that, find 2 minutes. So that's what we want to test, okay? So we bring people into a lab, and they do either high or low power poses again. They go through a very stressful job interview. It's 5 minutes long. They are being recorded, they're being judged also. We then have these coders look at these tapes, 4 of them. They're blind to the hypothesis, they're blind to the conditions. They have no idea who's been posing in what pose. And they end up looking at these sets of tapes and they say, oh, we want to hire these people, all the high power posers. We don't want to hire these people.
So you see how small tweaks can change the whole fate of your job interview and how you're going to be perceived by other people. So make sure that while you wait for your interviewer, for example, when you arrive at the company's office, that you have an open posture when you're sitting. And even when you sit during the job interview, make sure you have an open position as well. Moving on to the 4th strategy, and this one is so powerful, it can help you beyond job interviews. So have you ever asked yourself, why do confident people leave you with a positive feeling and that you get to remember them more easily than other boring people? The answer is simple, they have engaging conversation. And think about it, confident people will have more job offers because they will have amazing conversations with other people in the company, but also with the interviewer. And that will indicate that this guy is going to be a good coworker, and every company wants that. So how do you transform a boring conversation into a wonderful one? I have 3 tips to help you with that. And the first one is don't multitask. So I know you won't be on your phone or doing anything else than listening to the person in front of you. But multitasking is way broader than that. Multitasking may be thinking about what you're gonna do tonight. Maybe it's thinking if you locked your door this morning. Maybe it's telling yourself you have no idea what the interviewer is talking about. You need to be present and listen carefully to what the interviewer is saying, because if you think about anything else, it will show. Your eyes, your body language will say it. And that leads me to my second tip, just go with the flow. When you have something in mind, just say it, okay? Build on what the interviewer was saying, just build on your previous idea. Because for example, if you just got a new question, okay, and then you retain it and you're just waiting for the interviewer to stop talking to then ask your question, that's not good for many reasons. The first one is you're multitasking. Remember my first tip? When you retain that question, you're actually thinking about something else, and that will show during the job interview, like I was previously explaining. The second problem with that is if you let the interviewer just speak, and then ask your question, you have a problem with that because maybe your question is no longer related to what the interviewer was saying. For example, if you just got a question about the company's culture because the interviewer was talking about that, maybe if you wait too long, well, the interviewer just moved to another subject, and if you ask that question out of the blue, well, it can seem awkward, so you don't want to do that. And talking about questions, good ones start with what, why, how, when, or who, because they are open-ended questions and that will lead most of the time to interesting conversation. So if you follow these tips, you'll have better and more engaging conversation, and that will help you get remembered at the end of the interview. The 5th and last strategy that we're gonna talk about in this video is your voice tone. So how does your voice change the impact of what you're saying and how you're gonna be perceived by the job interviewer? We're gonna get a little bit technical here, but I assure you, if you listen carefully and if you practice this well, it can make a huge difference during a job interview. Let's turn to voice expert Julian Treasure to see how our voice can be interpreted in different manner even if the speech is the same. So we're going to see 3 elements that you can practice and change so that you're being perceived as more confident and more trustworthy. And the first one is register.
Register, for example. Now, falsetto register may not be very useful most of the time, but there's a register in between. I'm not going to get very technical about this for any of you who are voice coaches. You can locate your voice, however. So if I talk up here in my nose, you can hear the difference. If I go down here in my throat, which is where most of us speak from most of the time, but if you want weight, you need to go down here to the chest. You hear the difference? We vote for politicians with lower voices. It's true, because we associate depth with power and with authority.
So you see, I didn't even know that you could talk with your nose or your throat, or your chest. So moving on to the second voice change that you can do, and it's prosody.
Then prosody. I love prosody. This is the sing-song, the meta-language that we use in order to impart meaning. It's route one for meaning in conversation. People who speak all on one note are really quite hard to listen to if they don't have any prosody at all. That's where the word monotonic comes from, or monotonous, monotone.
Or you can speak with different notes, and that makes the conversation more alive. You see, that's prosody. Moving on to the third voice change, and it's pace. Something we get to do when we're nervous is speaking really fast. Confident people talk slowly to make sure they are heard and to show that the information they're giving is important. So what do you have to do to become and appear more confident in a job interview? Think of what could go wrong the day of the interview and during the interview and plan ahead. Part of your plan should be to prepare specific examples to include in your answers during the job interview. Make sure your posture is powerful and give a sense of confidence. When you speak, be present and listen carefully and engage in the conversation by asking relevant questions. And finally, try to pace yourself when you speak and speak with your chest if possible, which will make you appear like you know what you say. If you need more help on how to actually prepare your interview, I have a complete playlist that I'll link in the description and YouTube cards, so you may want to check it before your next job interview. So as usual, hit the like button. That will indicate to YouTube that this video that you're watching right now should be viewed by more people, and that's always good for me. Don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss any future videos. You can also click on that bell so that you get notified when a new video comes up, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Ciao!